The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on Tom's Radio Toronto are entirely those of the hosts, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of Tom's Radio Toronto or its staff. These broadcasts are presented and made public as entertainment and general information only, in the hope that they will be entertaining and informative to listeners. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate in any way any disease or condition or to promote any specific lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice, nor is the information presented necessarily accurate or verifiable. The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on Tom's Radio Toronto are entirely those of the hosts, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of Tom's Radio Toronto or its staff. These broadcasts are presented and made public as entertainment and general information only, in the hope that they will be entertaining and informative to listeners. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate in any way any disease or condition or to promote any specific lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice, nor is the information presented necessarily accurate or verifiable.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Tom's Radio. We're located today at 3768 Bathurst Street in Unit 308. My name is Jennifer Hoffman. I am a lawyer and the host of the Hoffman Law Show. I will be with you today for about an hour, and we are going to be discussing a bunch of areas of law in general on this show in the coming weeks, but today specifically, I would like to focus on one area. By way of background, like I said, my name is Jennifer Hoffman. I run a personal injury and disability law firm. We deal with a wide array of clients who have been injured either in car accidents or slip and falls, or have suffered injuries at work, or have developed some sort of medical condition or disability, and oftentimes those disabilities prevent them from working. Typically, when clients come to me after they have been injured or suffered a disability, one of their main concerns, aside obviously from being able to get the medical care that they need and the help that they need to get better, they're typically always very, very concerned and very worried about being able to support their families. Because most of the times when people are seriously injured, they're not able to get back to work. They're not able to go to work, which means they're no longer able to make an income. And obviously, that is a very serious concern for most of us, if not everyone. We all go to work, we all need to make an income and support our families. And unfortunately, when someone has suffered a serious injury or is disabled in some way, they're no longer able to go to work. They're no longer able to make an income. And unfortunately, they're no longer able to support their family financially, pay off their expenses, and put food on the table. So clients that come to me in those positions are understandably very, very upset, very worried, very scared. Typically, if an insurance company is involved, they have no idea how to deal with the insurance companies. They are bombarded by requests and questions by those insurance companies, and they need someone like me and my lawyers to help them navigate through all the insurance issues, as well as help them get money, help them get income replacement to hold them over until the next stage. And so what I want to talk about today is I'd like to discuss some of the options that are available in Canada and as well as in Ontario specifically for when you have been injured or suffered some sort of medical condition that prevents you from working. And there are numerous different sources of potential income assistance, and we'll go through some of them today in a lot more detail. And of course, if anybody ever here, if any of our listeners are involved in an accident or are in a situation where they may need help with income replacement, feel free to contact us, feel free to call us. We can be reached anytime. You can call my firm. Our number is 416-631-0000. I'm found at extension 1. You can always call our cell phone as well, 647-330-5364. Our website is hoffmanlaw.ca. And of course, we would discuss your specific situation, the details of your case, and see how Hoffman Law can help you and assist you with your income concerns. So, one of the most common reasons that people come to me is because they were involved in a motor vehicle accident. And this motor vehicle accident has left them with very serious injuries. And like I said, they're not able to go back to work. They are trying to figure out the healthcare system. They're trying to figure out what kind of medical care they need, what type of rehabilitative care they need. And we obviously assist them with all of that stuff immediately from day one. But oftentimes these clients are also not able to work. And like I said, they're very worried about finances and worried about how to support their families. And the most common or immediate benefit out there or option for clients is to receive what is called income replacement benefits. And that is an entitlement under accident benefits. So when you are involved in a car accident, you are, regardless of who caused the accident, even if you are responsible for this accident, if you live in Ontario, if you have a valid if there's insurance involved, whether it's your insurance or the insurance of another vehicle or another driver, everyone in Ontario who is involved in a motor vehicle accident is entitled to accident benefits. This is no fault insurance. Again, doesn't matter who caused the accident, whether it's you or somebody else. And under accident benefits, people are entitled to have the insurance company pay for some rehabilitative treatment, things such as physiotherapy, chiropractic, massage therapy, so on and so forth. But for today's purposes, we're focused on the income replacement benefits. Accident benefits will provide income replacement benefits to people who are injured and no longer able to work. This is a type of benefit that you have to apply for. And in order to be eligible for this benefit, at the time of the accident, you had to have either been employed or self-employed, okay? Or if you were not working at the time that you got into an accident, you may still be eligible to receive income replacement benefits. And in order to get those benefits, I mean, it's very technical and a lawyer will help walk you through it, but essentially you had to have been working for 26 weeks or more out of the past year. So if, for example, someone is employed seasonally, so let's say they're working from March up until October, and then they're off work in October, and in November they get into a motor vehicle accident, that person will still be entitled to income replacement benefits because they were working for at least 26 weeks of the past year. You would also be eligible potentially for income replacement benefits if you were not working at the time of the accident, but you were receiving government assistance, specifically employment insurance. There are some other exceptions to that. And in Ontario, the basic income replacement benefit is $400 per week. And that the entitlement is for about 104 weeks. And after 2 years of being on income replacement benefits, if you weren't cut off before then you would have to probably go through a whole bunch of assessments, and you'd have to prove that your injury and your disability continues to prevent you from being able to work. I should mention that $400 a week is the max that anyone can receive. It's calculated as 70% of your income up to a max of $400 a week. So I can give an example. So, for example, and this is just for ease of numbers, let's say you were earning $100 per week and then you get into an accident and you can no longer work. You will be entitled to 70% of that income. So $70. Okay? Let's say you were earning $1,000 a week and then you get into an accident. You're entitled to 70% of your income, which is $700, but the cap is $400. So the maximum that you can recover from for income replacement benefits is $400 per week. Now, there are options in Ontario to buy additional insurance when you first sign up for insurance. You can pay, it's a small increase in the premiums, but you can increase your weekly benefits to be more than $400. So, for example, you can increase it to $800, and you can increase it even up to $1,000 a month. A lot of people don't know that you have this option. So when you buy your motor vehicle insurance, you're given the basic insurance, and a lot of people are not aware that you actually have an option to buy additional benefits. And as a personal injury lawyer who deals with insurance companies every single day, and we fight insurance companies every single day, I encourage everybody, all of our listeners, to always purchase additional benefits. It is not a huge increase in the amount of premiums that you're going to be paying over the year. It does increase your insurance by a little bit, but it covers you over the $400 limit if you are involved in an accident and you are no longer able to return to work. So that's a bit of a side note. Now, income replacement benefits are an insurer's worst nightmare, essentially. Insurers don't want to have to pay income replacement benefits because it creates what's called an exposure to them. So whenever possible, they will deny those benefits. And they will make arguments that even though you're injured, you're not injured enough to be off work. Or even though you're injured, they would say, well, you've had 3 months of physiotherapy, you should be good enough to get back to work. And so that's why it is very, very important to get a lawyer involved earlier on. Almost as soon as you're involved in an accident, it's really important that you call a lawyer and find out what your rights are, and help and get a lawyer to assist you in managing your income replacement benefits and ensuring that if you're not able to work, you're still able to support your family and pay your bills, pay your expenses. So that there's a whole process in place for that. There's a whole bunch of forms that need to be filled out. And of course, when you contact a personal injury lawyer, or when you contact myself, we will assist you in filling out all of your forms. We will obtain all of the financial information that's required for you. We will submit it to the insurance companies, and we will fight to make sure that you get those benefits, those income replacement benefits. So that's one option. Sometimes people have what's called long-term benefits. Most often, when you have long-term benefits, those benefits or this policy is received through your employment. What does that mean? That means that you have an employer that, as part of your benefits package, also has a long-term disability policy for you. That's the most common type of long-term policies that we see. Some people buy them personally, individually. So, for example, they may work for a company that doesn't provide long-term disability, and then they will personally purchase a long-term disability policy for them and their families. That's not often the case. We very rarely see a personal policy. It's typically through the employer. And a long-term disability policy essentially covers you in the event that you are no longer able to work due to injury or medical condition or any type of disability. So if you're involved in a motor vehicle accident, for example, and you're no longer able to work, you may be entitled to the income replacement benefits through the insurance that we just discussed, the $400 a week. Plus, you may also be entitled to additional money from your long-term disability policy. It is very critical that you speak to a lawyer about this, because the interplay between the two could be complicated and there are laws around it. And you don't want to lose out on any potentially available funds for you. In order to get long-term disability through an LTD policy, you have to prove that you are injured enough that you are no longer able to perform your own occupation. Now, what that means is that, let's say I get injured and I'm no longer able to practice law for the first 2 years, then I may be entitled to long-term disability. Sorry, I should backtrack actually. For the first 2 years after an accident, you just have to show that you're no longer able to work in any occupation, not just your own, but rather in any occupation. After the first 2 years, the test changes, and then you have to show that you're no longer able to work in sorry, let's backtrack. Most policies will pay out a portion of your salary for the first couple of years of injury. Okay, so that's long-term disability. After the first 2 years, in order to continue to receive your long-term disability benefits, you have to prove not only that you're no longer able to work in your own occupation, so in your own work, you also have to show and prove that you're no longer able to work in any occupation which is similar enough to your job and which you are reasonably qualified to do through your education or training or through your experience. So going back to the lawyer example, I'm a lawyer, and if I got injured for the first 2 years, I would have to prove that I'm too injured to work as a lawyer, okay? And that I can no longer go to my office or process documents or work in my own profession. After the first 2 years, in order to continue to receive long-term disability benefits, I would have to be able to prove that the injury not only prevents me from working as a lawyer in personal injury, but prevents me from working in any job that would require things like a legal education. So maybe politics, maybe hospital administration, maybe any other job for which I would otherwise be qualified to do. So the test becomes a little bit harder after 2 years to continue to receive those benefits. And again, LTD, long-term disability, can be very, very complicated. And it's really important that if you do suffer an injury, be it in a motor vehicle accident or a slip and fall, or, if you get injured at work, or if you develop a medical condition that prevents you from being able to work, that you speak to a lawyer immediately. And again, you can contact us anytime at 647-330-5364. I think we're getting a question here. Let me see. Yeah. I got a question. Can someone involved in an accident get more than one income support or income replacement? Yeah, absolutely. You can potentially receive more than just the income replacement benefits that you get through the motor vehicle insurance company. You might be able to receive both an IRB, income replacement benefit, through the accident benefits that we discussed. Like I said, you may also be eligible to receive long-term disability if you own a long-term disability policy. And then, of course, there are government type of benefits that are available to people. And we will be going into much more detail about some of those, including ODSP, CPP disability, employment insurance, and WSIB, which applies to just a few jobs, to some jobs rather. We will take a quick commercial break and discuss all of these additional areas of finances after the break.
Our company is committed to providing truthful, honest, competent, and result-oriented service through advising and representing our clients in Canada and overseas in a wide range of immigration matters. We focus on providing support, building dependable relationships, and promoting success. We are dedicated to understanding what results you want and to helping you understand what actions we can take on your behalf.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the Hoffman Law Show. My name is Jennifer Hoffman and I am the owner and principal lawyer of Hoffman Law. We are a personal injury and disability law firm, and we help our clients with all matters related to any injury or illness that they've sustained and that they need assistance with, be it with medical assistance or financial help after they've been involved in some sort of accident that prevents them from working. Today, we are focused on the income loss component of being injured. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, oftentimes my clients will come to us and they've been injured in an accident or a slip and fall, or they've sustained some sort of workplace accident, and they're no longer able to work. They're no longer able to support their families. They are extremely scared. They are intimidated by the insurance companies, and they come to us for assistance. And today's show will focus on the available income replacement options for people who are unable to work. We've already discussed income replacement benefits through accident benefits, which you are entitled to if you are involved in a motor vehicle accident that prevents you from working. And just to recap, those are benefits that are provided through the insurance company, and they are, for most insurance policies, capped at $400 a week. We've also had a brief discussion about long-term disability benefits and those policies that are often available through your employer or that you had purchased personally. You do not have to be involved in a motor vehicle accident specifically to be entitled to LTD. You just have to show that you've sustained an injury or a disability or a medical condition that prevents you from being able to work. And again, the law around income replacement benefits, long-term disabilities, is pretty complicated. And it's you're dealing with insurance companies. Those are private companies. They can often be very, very aggressive. They are not in the business of giving you money. You may think that they're in the business of giving you money, and we buy insurance in order to protect us when something bad happens in our lives that prevents us from being able to work. But the truth of the matter is that insurance companies don't want to pay you, and they will do everything they can to avoid having to pay out benefits. And that's where we come in. And we assist our clients with every aspect of having to navigate an insurance claim, be it through income replacement benefits, through their accident benefits carrier, or long-term disability. Now, just going back to long-term disability, oftentimes it's the case that a client will apply to obtain their long-term disability, and the insurance company may pay out the benefit for a certain amount of time. And then after a few months or a year or 2 years, they'll cut you off. The second you get denied a benefit, be it immediately or after a few months or a year, you need to contact a lawyer. And we specialize in long-term disability. And we would immediately commence a lawsuit and fight to get you what you deserve, because there's no doubt that at some point along the way, even if the insurance at first said yes and they paid you benefits, there's no doubt that at some point along the way, they're going to cut you off from those benefits, and you will need a lawyer to help you navigate that system. In terms of caps, like I said, with income replacement benefits through your motor vehicle insurance, you're capped at $400 a week. That is not the case with long-term disability. There is a cap, but every policy is different. So the majority, or the most common thing we see, is that an insurance policy will pay up to 66% of somebody's pre-accident or pre-medical disability income. Okay. There are some policies that will pay 70%. There are some policies that will pay 90%. There are some policies that require you to pay tax on your benefits. There are some policies that don't require you to pay tax on your benefits. And that's why it can get very, very complicated. It can get very overwhelming to deal with the insurance companies, especially when you're already having to deal with an injury and you're trying to get better, you're trying to seek the medical treatment that you need to get better, and then on top of everything else that's going on in your life, you're now fighting an insurance company to pay you benefits that you should be entitled to in the first place. So again, make sure you contact a lawyer immediately if an insurance company tells you that you're either not entitled to benefits after you've applied, or if they cut you off from your benefits. In addition to the more private type of insurance policies, such as motor vehicle insurance and long-term disability insurance, there are government programs that are available to individuals who are injured and not able to work. And the three that I would like to discuss today in a little bit more detail are the Ontario Disability Support Program, so ODSP, and CPP Disability. Okay. ODSP, as the name suggests, is an Ontario disability program. It's run by the province of Ontario, and it's available to individuals who are not able to work either due to injury or medical condition. In order to qualify for ODSP, you have to be at least 18 years old. You have to be a resident of Ontario. You have to prove that there's a financial need component, and that you're in a financial position where you have to have the extra assistance from ODSP. And then, of course, you have to meet the definition of disability. So the way that the financial component is determined is that the organization will take a look at your total household expenses, the necessities of living, so things such as your mortgage or your rent, the cost of food, the cost of dressing your children if you have dependents, if you have kids, so on and so forth. And then they will look at the total household income. So unlike accident benefits and long-term disability, which focus just on the individual. So it doesn't matter, if you're injured in an accident and your husband or wife is earning $100,000 a year, they don't look at that. Okay? All that matters is whether you are able to work. They don't look at the rest of the household. ODSP is different. ODSP will look at the entire household. So, for example, if you're no longer able to work, but your spouse is able to work and they make enough money to sustain the household expenses, then you may not be eligible to receive ODSP. However, if you're not able to work, and even if your spouse is working, but they're not making enough money to meet your basic financial living needs, then you will meet that requirement for financial need. And then, of course, the last requirement is that you have to prove that you meet the ODSP definition of disability. And the definition of that is a person that has suffered a substantial medical or physical impairment. So it can be physical or psychological, and that your impairment and your condition is continuous or recurrent. So what does that mean? That means that it's not an injury that you've suffered. For example, let's say you broke an arm, you're not able to work, but once your arm heals, you'll be able to go back to work within 6 to 8 weeks. It means that your condition is continuous and it needs to last for at least 1 year. Or it's recurrent, meaning that it happens once and it can come on again and again. So, for example, severe generalized anxiety, okay? You may not be in a constant state of anxiety 24/7, but you may experience severe anxiety attacks twice a day, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Those anxiety attacks may significantly prevent you from being able to function, from being able to return to work. Or let's say you're suffering from depression, or any type of medical condition or injury that prevents you from working, and that is either continuous in nature or happens over and over and over. And that condition needs to last a minimum of 1 year. The second part of proving the disability is that you have to have a medical expert, preferably a physician, support your condition. And there's an application process, and you need to submit the proper documentation. Of course, you need to submit documentation to show that you meet the age requirement. You'll have to submit financial documentation to prove the financial need requirement, but you will also have to submit medical documents to prove the disability requirement. And your medical documents need to be filled out and supported by a medical professional. Okay. Once ODSP receives your completed application, including all of the medical documents and financial documents, most decisions are completed within 10 days of receiving the application. But in the more complicated cases, it can take up to 90 days. If your application is approved, then you would receive regular monthly benefits. And in Ontario, the maximum monthly benefit for a single person with no dependents is about $672 a month. If you have a spouse or dependent, it goes up to $969 a month. And then if you have dependent children, you can apply for additional support through ODSP for each child that is a dependent. If your ODSP application is denied, at that point, there is an appeal process. It is a very complicated, a little bit of a drawn out process. There are many lawyers that can assist with it. Certainly, if you have a claim with us, we're happy to assist with the appeal process as well. But I do recommend seeking legal advice if you have been denied for Ontario disability. The other type of disability benefits that's offered through the government is CPP, and that's a federal benefit that's offered by the Canadian government, and it's called CPP disability. The definition or the requirements to receive CPP are slightly different from those of the ODSP requirements. To receive CPP, you've got to prove that you've suffered both a severe and prolonged disability, and that sounds very, very similar to ODSP, but the difference is that it's not limited by the 1 year. You have to show that your impairment is going to last long term, well past 1 year, and or that it's of an indefinite duration. So there's no end in sight. Often people with illnesses such as cancer or rheumatoid arthritis, those people qualify for CPP. These people in those circumstances would typically also qualify for ODSP as well. And of course, you've got to prove that your conditions prevent you from working. The other requirements in order to receive CPP is you must be under 65 years old in order to qualify that, because once you hit age 65, it actually shifts. It becomes a different test, and it's a different benefit that you might be entitled to under CPP. It's similar to old age security, essentially. But in order to receive CPP disability, you have to be under 65 years of age. The other major difference in the requirements between the Ontario Disability Program and the Canadian Disability Program, or CPP, is that in order to be eligible for CPP, you have to have contributed into that program. What does that mean? That means, I'm sure you'll notice in your pay stubs that, if you're working and your employer remits taxes on your behalf, often there's a section for CPP. And that means that a portion of your income has been contributed into the CPP program. And in order to qualify for CPP, in the 6 years before you apply for it, you had to have contributed a minimum of 4 years. So, for example, if I were to apply for CPP today in 2021, I would have to prove that between 2015 and today, I contributed at least 4 years worth into the CPP program. Okay? The exception to that is if you had been working in Canada and contributing for 25 years, at least 25 years, then the minimum requirement is 3 years contribution within a 6-year period. And if anybody is confused about any of this stuff, again, feel free to reach out to me anytime. We can be found at hoffmanlaw.ca. You can call us 416 361 0000 extension 1 or 647 330 5364. It can become quite overwhelming to deal with the CPP and ODSP program. We're here to help. We're going to be taking a quick commercial break right now, and when we get back, we will discuss some of the funds available under the CPP program and move on to our other government-supported disability programs.
Our company is committed to providing truthful, honest, competent, and result-oriented service through advising and representing our clients in Canada and overseas in a wide range of immigration matters. We focus on providing support, building dependable relationships, and promoting success. We are dedicated to understanding what results you want and to helping you understand what actions we can take on your behalf. Welcome back, everyone. We are here at the Tom's Radio location. Welcome to the Hoffman Law Show, where we talk about all things law, including personal injury and disability. Just before the break, we discussed some options for income replacement when you've been injured or hurt in an accident or developed a medical condition that prevents you from being able to work. We discussed receiving income replacement benefits through accident benefits, long-term disability, and then the government program, so Ontario Disability, ODSP, and we had also discussed the federal program, CPP Disability. Just to recap, in order to be eligible to receive the CPP disability, you have to show that you suffer from a severe and prolonged condition, be it an injury or medical condition, and that your condition is long-term, and there's no
indication of when you would recover from this condition. You also have to be under the age of 65 years old. You had to have worked in Canada and contributed to this program. And you had to have contributed at least 4 out of the 6 years before the application. If you get approved for the CPP disability benefit, the maximum amount that you will be entitled to is $1,413 a month, approximately. You may be entitled to other government benefits, but once you're approved for CPP, those other benefits could be adjusted to make up for the difference. So, for example, if you were receiving ODSP, let's say $1,000 a month, and then you get approved for CPP, you can still receive both, but it's likely that your ODSP will be reduced to meet the overall criteria of household income and financial need. So the maximum amount of benefits that's available for CPP disability, like I said, is approximately $1,413 per month. However, that doesn't mean that just because you are eligible to receive CPP that that's what you'll be getting. In fact, the average Canadian that gets approved for CPP is only receiving $1,030 a month, approximately. Much like ODSP, there is an additional dependent benefit. So if you have children who are dependents of a disabled person, then you can get additional funds for each dependent child, and that's approximately $257 a month. And of course, you would have to prove everything through an application. Much like ODSP, the medical condition needs to be supported by a medical professional. Typically, it's a doctor or a specialist that will help you fill out your forms and submit it to the government, and support that you have a disability that prevents you from working. If you are not approved for CPP, if you get denied, it doesn't end there. You, much like ODSP, you can actually appeal the decision. There's an appeal process, and again, I strongly recommend that you get in touch with a lawyer that can help navigate you through that system. The other type of financial assistance that's available to people who are injured and unable to work is employment insurance sickness benefits. So that's not the same as employment insurance that you may be entitled to if you get fired from your job. This is a different type of employment insurance. This is available to someone who hasn't necessarily been fired from work. The position is still available to them, but they're not able to work because of a medical condition or a disability or an injury. The EI is up to a maximum of 15 weeks. And you have to show that your income has been drastically reduced as a result of your illness or injury, and that it's been reduced at least by 40%. And again, this is a program we pay into. I'm sure you notice on your pay stubs, there are remittances to EI every couple of weeks or every month, depends how you get paid. But in order to be eligible, you had to have contributed into this program, and you had to have worked a minimum of 600 hours of insurable employment prior to applying for EI. Again, you need to provide supporting medical documentation, and have a physician typically help fill out those medical forms and submit them. And you would be, if you're approved, you would get paid out a monthly benefit, and the maximum in 2020, for example, was about $573 a month. Again, that's the maximum. That does not necessarily mean that that's what you'll receive if you're approved for employment insurance. It's just what is potentially available. That is the max. And again, remember, you're capped at 15 weeks. So this benefit is only available for 15 weeks. Lastly, I just want to touch on WSIB. WSIB is a program that is available to people who are covered under that program and who suffer a workplace accident. So if you've been injured in the course of your employment, you may be eligible to receive WSIB. In order to receive it, your employer has to be a WSIB employer. You have to be covered under the WSIB schedule. That's a whole lot of mumble jumble and legalese, essentially to say that your employer had to be paying into the WSIB program. WSIB, for people who are injured in the course of their employment, entitles you to medical treatment, for example, but also there is a component of benefits for loss of earnings. And under this program, you may be entitled to receive a portion of the income that you're no longer able to receive. Most WSIB benefits for loss of earnings will pay out up to 85% of your earnings until such time that you are healed enough to either return to work or you reach the age of 65. Unlike ODSP and CPP and EI, which are paid out monthly, WSIB is actually paid out every 2 weeks. And again, WSIB being the equivalent essentially of an insurer, will likely put up a big fight around continuous payments of benefits for lost earnings. And again, it's really important that you contact a lawyer to talk about your potential WSIB entitlements. If you are a WSIB employee, and typically when you are, you know that you're a WSIB employee, and you are involved in any sort of accident, in a motor vehicle accident, so on and so forth, it is really important that you contact a lawyer, not just about the benefits that you might be entitled to, but also because it may impact your right to be able to sue for those for the injuries and to sue the party that's responsible for causing you those injuries. Now, we have not discussed lawsuits today. That is a completely separate area, but it is impacted, or it could be impacted if you are a WSIB employee. So that's pretty much the different heads and options that you have if you have been injured in an accident or suffered a serious medical condition that prevents you from working. And again, just to go back through your options, if your injury is a result of a motor vehicle accident, you may be entitled to income replacement benefits through your MVA insurer. If you own a long-term disability policy, either through your employer or personally, you might be entitled to long-term disability benefits. Otherwise, there are government programs that are available: ODSP, CPP, employment insurance, and of course, finally, WSIB. I want to thank Tom's Radio again for having us here today. And remind you, my name is Jennifer Hoffman. We are running the Hoffman Law Show. We will be back next week and every week thereafter, discussing different areas of law and bringing in different experts in areas of law to be able to answer all of your legal related questions. You can reach me anytime at 416-631-0000 extension 1 or 647-330-5364, or go to hoffmanlaw.ca for additional information on all things injury and disability related. Have a great weekend, everyone.